Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor, Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and hopefully JP's first son, Tim Hoey, will be joining us very shortly. Well, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get it started. Look, we have to start with the Patriots. Then we'll get to the big night that's tonight in the Eastern Conference. There's Timmy. There's JP's first son. Good to see you. We just started, Timmy. We start with the Patriots. Patriots lose 35-30 in a thriller. First of all, I have to say, sad news about James White's parents. Find out right before the game that all of a sudden that James White's father, who I guess was a chief of police at one point, and a retired chief of police, dies in a car accident, and then his mother's critically injured. I don't know what her status is right now. But that's tough to hear that news for a player that you love, for the team, and then to go out there and play a tough team in Seattle. But they came to play. They lose 35-30 in dramatic fashion. But for a loss, guys, we can't be happier.
If part of this is just to entertain us and to show us that the team is capable of winning games in the postseason and potentially going all the way, I think yeah. I mean, you hate to say it's a moral victory, but it was a positive point for the team overall.
Well, the offense was very positive, I thought. The defense
was rough.
Atrocious. Big problem. I think on every possession in the second half, Seattle scored.
Yeah.
Except for that last one when Pete channeled his old Super Bowl thing. Instead of running for 3rd and 1, he tried to throw it deep down the field.
You know, the only thing that stopped Seattle's offense was penalties.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And Pete Carroll's horrific decision at the end of the game not to run in 3rd and 1, but to throw a 40-yard pass.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's important to take that game for what it was. I mean, other than the pick six and the ridiculous bomb on 3rd down, that game was not, you weren't in that game realistically, right? So
I would say the opposite. Russ, we're a Nick Folk conversion of a 51-yard field goal, and then he comes down at the end, and that's a gimme field goal. If Nick Folk does his job, we win that game. Bottom line.
And
I
two
think it would
miracle
have
catches and
transpired
throws.
different, Scotty.
What's that?
2 miracle catches and throws in there too. I mean, that's one of the all-time stay-in-bounds catches there. That's right up there in the great body control catches.
But he does that on a regular basis. That's not just happened once. This happens every week with Russell Wilson.
Look, I think the overall takeaway is positive, but we have to be honest with ourselves. To Joe's point, the defense kind of got shredded all night long.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you were to say, all right,
absolutely.
I mean, overall, I wasn't happy we lost, but I didn't feel horrible about it because the biggest question was, and this is the biggest takeaway, is Cam Newton's for real, right?
Yeah. There's 2 ways I can look at this. You know, part of me wants to say, are we now the Boston losers again, where we're happy just to stay close? All right. I don't want to be that guy, but we have no expectations for the Patriots this year. At least I had zero. Like, they were going to be the Red Sox all over again. What we saw out of the Red Sox this year, that was going to be the Patriots.
Weren't you pleasantly surprised, though, Tim?
I was absolutely pleasantly surprised. And I mean, I've never been so satisfied with a loss in my life.
I was sound asleep.
Now, do we have something to watch on Sundays now? I mean, we haven't been able to watch baseball all summer. I mean, even though there's been a version of it in Boston, but now there's some interest we have watching the Patriots.
Yeah, you're standing next to the television at the end of the game instead of sitting down. You're standing there like we have done for the last 20 years. Yeah. It doesn't matter that there's not a crowd there, and you're engrossed in this game.
Totally.
Yeah, my winter was about to become completely. The only reason I'm involved with the NFL is because of gambling. Now, but the Patriots are relevant maybe again.
Look, we all know you can't get even close to winning a Super Bowl without a high-performing quarterback. And our biggest question coming into this year was, were you going to get the high-performing Cam Newton, or were you going to get the guy who was a shell of himself? And in 2 games, now it's a small sample size, but look, he dropped back and threw the ball accurately all night long. That's a huge takeaway from this game.
Right. Quick release.
In all the metrics I've seen, I know, like you said, Russ, a small sample, he's in the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL.
And he's 31 years old, right?
Yeah.
31?
Yeah.
So,
He's a year away from his prime as an NFL quarterback. They say your prime now is 30. It's not like he's 37, 38. And we're going to try to drag a year or two out of this guy. Right. This guy, if he's the old Cam Newton, oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, he's not 43, Timmy. And that was our alternative.
Scott, we don't want the old Cam Newton. We want the new Cam Newton.
Scott, let me ask you a question. Would you rather be sitting here saying, geez, we have questions systemically on our defense that we need to solve in order to compete for a title, or we have a quarterback who doesn't look like he can get it done?
Absolutely. Look, in a conference that you have Lamar Jackson and Mahomes, two of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, if you don't have a guy who's competing against them on a weekly basis, you have no shot in this type of NFL.
You can solve the defensive problem on this team, right? Probably. Yeah. You got a better chance of solving the defensive problem than you have solving a quarterback problem.
You probably can't solve it, but you do have a better chance.
That's right. You have a better chance, right?
You can scheme up and kind of hide things.
Right.
But Belichick's always going to – we have the same conversation every year after week 2. He's going to have this vanilla defense going through most of the season. Then he's going to start throwing in stuff later in the season. The problem with that game last week was the defensive backs played poorly, and they're supposed to be the strength of the club.
That's a very good point.
Well, I think they may have been trying to cover up for the linebackers. The linebackers couldn't cover anybody, and that was a bad bunch there.
But I think Russ made a great point. We know what Belichick can do coaching defenses. So, what if you're a betting man? What would you say that he's going to get this defense up to snuff before things are said and done?
That's right.
The only problem, Timmy, that I would say is that this is a very undersized defense. You look at the line. We've had lines that were just huge. They engulfed the space. This is a small group all around.
I would go a step further, Scott, and I'm sure Joe watches this more closely than all of us. I saw running backs on Seattle turn the corner on us 3 or 4 times, which suggests that we don't have enough speed at linebacker either, right? Right now, with Uche and Jennings out, we're looking at Bentley in the middle, who looks more like Brandon Spikes to me than he does.
Brandon Spikes would be a big upgrade,
right?
Yeah, sure
so
would, right?
If we can't pursue sideline to sideline in our linebacker core, that's a big problem that needs to be solved.
And you got Kyle Duggar, the first-round pick, who 35 looked like he was in the picture the whole game.
Oh,
he
man.
played very well, but he's a safety. He's undersized.
Duggar and Phillips are the best linebackers they got, and they're only 210 pounds.
It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign when your safeties are making the most tackles.
I give Greg Bedard of Boston Sports Journal credit. He did this big breakdown, and I watched a bunch of film on Duggar today through him. This guy is in a top 1% of an athlete in the NFL.
Right, I know.
Oh,
That's why they got him. Division II guy, and he
blew them away.
I don't know if you guys remember the play. He came in on a blitz, on the sack that
Winovich's sack.
Winovich's sack. But if you look closely, Duggar blows up a tackle. He knocks him backwards 5 yards.
Yeah,
and he's given up 100 pounds.
100 pounds.
Yeah. No, yeah. Obviously, you don't miss Chung when you have a guy like Duggar.
That's right. But you do miss Hightower. Look, we miss Hightower and we miss Van Noy.
If you watched Duggar's college films, I know it was Division II, but he was a man amongst boys in every game he was in.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the wide receiving core, I told you, the idea was to tank. All of a sudden, Cam Newton was available. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, we're a legitimate team. We're talking potential Super Bowl, at the very least, AFC Championship game. Well, that wide receiving core is not going to do it.
Hey, how many passes would Brady have thrown to Bird?
Zero.
No, never in a million years.
No, right. Bird's a nice, to be honest, 4th or 5th wide receiver.
Yeah. If you had a game that James White couldn't play in when Tom Brady was quarterback, Edelman would have gotten 30 passes thrown to him on Sunday night.
Yeah. Right, he would have. Edelman looks like it's already game 16 physically.
Oh my!
He was awesome the other night, though.
But
okay, let me ask you.
But he was beat up, boy. He looked about 50. He looked about 50 years old by the end of the game.
He did, yeah.
So let me ask you this question right now. We should ask it every week. Gun to your head, Belichick has one move before the trade deadline.
Wow.
You can either pick only one position. What do you get? Linebacker, wide receiver, a veteran tight end, defensive lineman. Where are you going,
Oh,
Joe?
great question. All right,
How
Joe.
about the tight end? I'll go with the veteran tight end that can do it. That is pretty versatile. But I wanted to say one thing. Who wants to play poker with Belichick where he bargained Cam Newton down like that?
Nobody.
Oh, I know.
Is that
Timmy,
playing poker or what?
Well, yeah, but Joe, we got taken by the Falcons and Sanu in a second round.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Timmy, who
Well,
would
that
you
was
choose,
Tom
Timmy?
Brady wanted them, and they had to pay the price.
Timmy, who would you choose?
Timmy,
Take a defensive lineman, a big, giant defensive lineman.
Yeah. What about you, Scott?
I'm taking a tackling machine. I need a linebacker who's going to get 12 to 15 tackles. Doesn't have to be just a guy that makes sure you stop.
I want one of those like Sean Lee characters who can just run from sideline to sideline and make tackles.
Yeah, I need that.
Like Jamie Collins.
Like Jamie Collins, yeah.
Problem with it, I think that's a great point to me. We miss Jamie Collins because we have nobody to defend the running backs coming out of the backfield.
Yeah.
So everything was open 10 to 15 yards. Everything.
Now my prediction is in 3 weeks he'll address that, whether it's Uche or Jennings or Winovich or whatever, Winkovich in the middle, and it will be saying wide receiver.
Well, when they introduced,
but every time they caught one in the flat, it looked like they had 10 or 15 yards in front of them.
Yeah.
But if you see that when they introduced the defense, they were basically going a 4-1-6. They only used one linebacker.
Adrian Phillips played linebacker all night long.
Right, it was a bizarre lineup. It was just when they showed it, it was just Bentley. All right, running backs, and we got to turn to Uncle Joe. Damn it, if this guy, Uncle Joe, wasn't right. Sonia Michelle was as bad of a running back on Sunday night as I've ever seen in the NFL. He was Marion.
He's regressing.
Butts, if you remember him.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have a fullback, or at least he doesn't have a very good one. To follow, and seems to be he needs someone to make the decisions for him. And
this is your
you
time
need a
to
good
rip,
fullback.
Joe. I'm giving you the stage to rip Sonia Michelle.
Everyone in the world is doing that now. He's being called a bust now, and I think I won't go that far, but
one
he's
extra
close.
yard more than he was given. Did he get one extra yard?
No.
Other, after contact.
He was running into defense. Look, there's a reason that Damian Harris was clearly going to be the number one starter had he not got hurt. He's apparently on the injury reserve list, can come back after 3 games. Whether he comes back game 4, I don't know. But they could use a guy like that because right now, Burkhead looks slower.
I thought Burkhead had a pretty good game, though, against Seattle.
I did too, Joe. I did too.
Oh, I don't think he ran very well at all. And then
I thought he was bringing the beef there when he, when someone was trying to tackle him, at least he was dropping his shoulder.
The terrible 3rd down play where Cam pitched it to him in front of him.
That was a bad play call. That wasn't Burkhead's fault. God, that was a horrible play call. The other guy who's just not getting anything extra, and I don't know if this is where you were going next, Scotty, but N'Keal Harry, man. I mean, you saw his tape in college. And he was a guy, when he got the ball, he ran over guys, by guys, through guys. That guy doesn't get an extra yard. If he had to get an extra yard, if his life depended on it, he wouldn't last very long.
A lot of it, Russ, is that he doesn't get any separation. And the corners or the safeties are right on top of him when the catch is made.
Russ, what I noticed, the first game, he went head-to-head with the cornerback. I don't know if you remember the play on the sideline.
Oh, I remember it vividly.
And he probably had 20 yards, 25 pounds on that cornerback, and he went backwards.
Yeah,
the cornerback went forwards, and it was head to head. It was like 2 bulls in a cage, and he went backwards. That was distressing to see.
And then we have to stare at DJ Metcalf. A guy that the Patriots should have drafted, and had a guy like him, 6'4", just a monster. You could do so many things with him. Great athlete, and instead we got N'Keal Harris.
How was he not a top 10 pick? I mean, This guy looks like they had my body on his head. You know,
everyone thought he was just a ripped body, that he really couldn't play football, and that's why he lasted till deep into the.
Did you see those? Did you see those highlights they were showing of him without a shirt on, catching balls like 3 or 4 feet above the goalpost? Yeah, he's 6'4". He looks like that. When you go into Sports Authority, that mannequin in front with the Under Armour shirt.
He looks like a bigger Terrell Owens.
This guy looks like he's sculpted.
All right, boys, we got to get to the Celtics. So let's do predictions. Patriots play a tough team in the Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders, and you know Vegas is my lady. All right, Russ, predictions for the Sunday game.
Very high scoring, 34-31 Patriots.
Patriots. Joe?
I'm going to say a lower scoring game because they're going to be running both teams, because the Patriots give up the run, and that'll eat up the clock, and so it'll be like 24-21, but the Patriots on top this time.
All right, I like what you're saying. Timmy?
Well, last week I had the Seahawks score right, but not the Patriots. I'm going 34-24 Patriots.
Oh, wow. All right. I've got to start with this 35. The professor doesn't get to look at my paper right here. 35-34 Patriots. And whoever's the field goal kicker, the Raiders, misses an extra point with no seconds left and we win. I just like those happy endings. All right, we go to the Celtics. It's game 4 tonight. Celtics down 2-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Biggest game, obviously, of the series. To me, whoever wins tonight will end up winning the series.
I agree with you, Scotty. And
I agree, yeah.
I think it's the Celtics tonight. They're coming around, and the Heat coming back to earth from that 10-2 start there.
Look, I think I think the addition of Hayward made a huge difference. He didn't score a lot of points, but he basically helped them crack the zone, right? And if all he does is help them crack the zone defense that was really giving us trouble, then that's fine by me.
Yeah, it's all about Grandpa Gordon tonight. This is the biggest game that Grandpa will have played in a Boston Celtics uniform, and that's a cult, the Grandpa Gordon cult. Danny Pryor. So, needless to say, this is what I'm gonna give him a clean slate. We're gonna reboot Professor, Timmy, and Joe with Grandpa. If he plays really well tonight, I'm on the Grandpa's side. If he shits the bed, then that's it. We're all done with old Grandpa talk.
That's fair.
Well, I think I jumped ship before you, because 31. When he gave him 31 minutes the other night, I was flabbergasted.
Okay, Joe, but
he looked like he wanted to play.
He was a nice addition. He lengthened the bench. I'll completely give that to you. I'm glad he played game 3. But today, he's well rested. No ankle problems. He has to come out 14 to 17 points, contribute, play the same amount of minutes.
Oh, he'll do that.
Help the Celtics win victory, and then all of a sudden, I'll give you.
My only pushback on you is I actually don't care about the points. If he has. Right. If he's, it's like if he scores 9 points, but has a bunch of assists, a bunch of rebounds, and he gets everyone settled down in the clutch of a game, because this team is not great in the clutch, I'm good.
Okay, right. But would you agree that tonight is his night? At
100%.
You have to shine the light at the $34 million man and say, you got to come through.
Yep.
That seems incredible that he's getting paid that amount of money right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the fact is, when you see Denver beat the Lakers last night, the Lakers don't even show up. And we know this bubble is just a weird
psychologically, it's weird for people.
It really is. The Celtics could win a championship this year. It's actually possible right now. There's a game plan, and tonight they have to win. And that's it.
I think tonight it's all going to be about what Hayward does on his first 3 shots. I think if he hits 2 out of 3 of his first 3 shots, he's gotta be a factor. He starts missing right off the bat. His confidence goes down the crap.
Well, look, here's the good news.
Russ knows what listen to Russ, because this is going to be what.
No, I mean, look, I agree. It's Hayward's night, and if he comes out and plays tentatively, he doesn't want to shoot, he's not assertive against the zone, we're screwed, because the difference was. Now, but here's the good news about the Celtics. Kemba's got it. Whatever was bothering Kemba, he's figured it out. He's played well.
It was called Lowry. Lowry was bothering him. That's
right. But no, I mean, he played badly in the first game or two, but he's played well the last couple of games.
Well, and Hayward has made him look better. By now, you got someone to make that second pass that starts the offense moving.
Tatum's been Tatum, Brown's been Brown. I actually think that, the obvious adjustment for Spoelstra tonight is to play a little bit more bully ball, get the ball to the rim, and really just try to assert themselves and get Tyson foul trouble and get Jaylen Brown in foul trouble. So the Celtics have got to be prepared. They have to be mentally and physically strong at the rim tonight. I really believe that. They cannot let Miami start to play bully ball against them tonight.
Yeah, we saw a different Jaylen Brown game 3, kind of disappeared the first 2 games. And the stat I said, when Jaylen Brown scores 25 more points, other than one game against the Raptors this season, the Celtics win. Jaylen Brown's aggressive. He's going to the basket. I think that's going to be an indication it may be a good night.
Yeah, they can't fall back into that settling for threes all game. That's how they lose those big leads. They just go into a little 3 drought in the third quarter, and all of a sudden a 12-point lead is vaporized. Does anyone
think this game isn't going to come down to the last 2 or 3 minutes and whether the Celtics make plays or not? Like, to me, these teams are evenly matched. They're both mentally tough. They're both very well coached. They both got great players. This thing's coming down the last 3 minutes, and who executes?
That's the NBA.
Right?
I'm just counting on Jay Crowder, living up to his baseball card. As Scotty says, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he looked like Superman the first couple of games there. I mean, and then
that was
reality
a big turnover in game 3.
I was joking with Timmy last night. When Chevy for the Celtics and Smelly Kelly are on the court for that that doesn't feel like an NBA game at all.
But
how did we get to the finals day?
The biggest thing about Hayward, by far, is he takes all of Shemmy's minutes away. Shemmy doesn't. Right. Shemmy's out. He takes some minutes from Wanamaker. He takes some minutes from whatever backup center. He takes some minutes from Kemba. So all of a sudden, this thing looks a lot different when you've got 6 strong players in your lineup. Now you're just mixing and matching the other 2 guys.
I would say that Brad Stevens learned a lot from Spoelstra the first 2 games, and it was a different coach, Brad Stevens, in game 3. They're all learning, no matter what. This is high pressured environment. But I'd like to see Robert Williams play a little bit against Bam tonight. Bam killed us. We had no answer for that guy in the last 2 games offensively. We'd like to see him. They seem to be an equal matchup.
Yeah. If I were Brad and I was doing anything over the last 4 days, I would have been just tutoring Robert Williams day after day on how to defend a Bam Adebayo pick and roll and say, basically, I'm going to throw you in the game. Every time Bam gets a head of steam up or gets some momentum going, I'm going to throw you in the game and you're going to shut him down. And that's all we need you to do. We don't need you to do anything else to stop that when Bam gets going, because we can't stop that Bam pick and roll.
The problem is the Celtics, they would win a championship right now if they had 2 guys, one of 2 guys on the Heat, Duncan Robinson, or Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
Love that Tyler Hero.
We need one guy coming off the bench, shooting threes, and they're perfect. So needless to say, that's exactly what Danny needs to go out and get for the offseason. But it just shows you we're missing one piece. I really do feel that way right now. We're missing an
Hadn't we had gotten that guy at the trade deadline?
Who?
You're speaking to you're preaching to the converted, Joe. I mean, that was the only thing I cared about at the deadline. It wasn't another big. It was just a shooter, just somebody who could break down a zone, who could come off the bench and get hot for 5
minutes. But they didn't do. Danny sat pat again.
He stayed pat. Yeah.
Duncan Robinson was born in York, Maine, where I have a home. Can you believe? Brought up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. How do we miss on this guy? Fantastic shooter, but what the adjustment Brad made from game 1 and 2 to 3 was he made Duncan work a little bit on the defensive end, tired his ass out, and they were pushing him around off the 3-pointers, and he wasn't as effective. Great adjustment by Brad.
Yeah, and the other thing he did last game is he put Smart on Dragic, and just shut that down, because if Dragic is the 4th best player in this series, we're dead. We won't win. You've got to shut him down. You cannot allow him to go to work with Butler and Adebayo. Then you're just in too much trouble. There's too many weapons.
Yeah, I saw a stat Smart covered Dragic on 14.9 possessions, so 15 possessions, 2 points.
Yeah, just
2 points is all he got.
Yeah, he shut that down.
At least we have some contribution from the draft class. Grant Williams has played very well in a short.
Who's the best 3-point shooter in the playoffs for the Celtics by percentage?
Is it Grant Williams?
It's Grant Williams.
All right,
I like his defense too.
Right? Isn't he like he's a tough dude to me. Like, you don't mess with Grant Williams.
All right, boys, I'm going to give you. I'm going to chance that you can change your predictions, continue your predictions. What happens the rest of the series? The series will be over, I believe, when we have our next show. Do the Celtics win the series?
I had the Celtics in 7. I'm not going to change my mind.
Joe,
I'm sticking there too. I'm staying with the Celtics.
I think the Celtics win the next 3 games, and they, just as I predicted, 4-2.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think. Look, again, I said it was going to go Game 7, which I consider Game 14. I think that the Celtics are going to win in dramatic fashion, and we're going to go against the finals. And I really do feel like we have a chance. I'm not that impressed by the Lakers. I have to be honest with you.
I'm pretty impressed by Anthony Davis. I mean, that guy, oh my God.
But those guys could turn on each other real quick if you see the conversations they have with each other.
And they might have less depth than we do.
Yeah.
Will they all be looking to get out of town at the end of the year? You wonder, that's that kind of group of guys.
I don't know, though. I think LeBron is such a force of nature. I just think, look, he's an incredible basketball player, and Anthony Davis is an incredible basketball player, but they've got 2, and we've got arguably 4 or 5.
And right? Frank Vogel's not even a coach. He's not. He truly is a caddy. Of course, anybody who coaches LeBron, that's the way.
That's a big, long team, and Rondo can still get it to those guys.
Rondo scares me. He always has. I mean, if he doesn't get knocked out of that Chicago series, I don't know if we win that.
Nobody talks about.
He loves to beat the Celtics.
Oh, he's good at it too.
Really good in a Celtics uniform right now. We could have used him as a backup point guard.
That lad can dish the ball.
Yeah,
he's a very good distributor.
Maybe he gets paid. All right, quickly, we got to go to the Red Sox. I had to mention this. Jacob Wallace. He's from Methuen High School, my hometown, my alma mater. He just gets traded to the Red Sox as the player to be named later.
How many hometowns do you have, Scott? Come on.
How many? Right. But no, seriously, let's be honest. We're all local kids. It always gives us a good feeling when a local kid, if he makes the old town.
Yeah, what position does he play?
Relief pitcher.
And they're pretty high on him.
They're really high on him. Right?
I think the Red Sox were very excited to get him.
That's
absolutely
great.
Red Sox have tied for the 3rd worst record in baseball.
Yeah, we are rooting for losses. You know that Manfred came out and said it's going to be this year's record that's going to do it. So we have a shot to bottom them out.
Yeah, all right, there you go. And also Manfred came. That's good news. I had not heard that. Thank you, Professor. But he also came out and said that they're going to stick with the DH moving forward, and we kind of figured that out.
Oh, that's great. That's great news.
And but they're going to go with 16 teams in the playoffs after this year too, which is a horrific move.
Right. It's like the
NHL. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you go from what year? I mean, late 60s. You had two teams. Two teams made the playoffs. It was called the World Series. Down to now, basically, it's the same as the NHL and the NBA.
Yep. No, that's not that exciting. It's going to water it down, but I'm pretty happy about the DH. That's a good thing.
Yeah. But what it does, though, you're not going to have the best team in baseball win many World Series.
No. I agree with that. Yeah. They're going to have
to. Who's that?
You're going to have like 2 out of 3 in the first.
I was going to say, Joe, and that means a lot of good teams are going to get knocked out over time.
Well, yeah, if you have 2 good pitches, you can knock out the number 1 seed pretty easily.
And but this adds a lot of interest in a lot of cities. Teams that are fighting for playoff positions. I mean, it keeps a lot of butts in the seats or in front of the television.
Well, this league has bigger
again.
Yeah. This team has bigger problems than that, though. I mean, if you were to tell me there's a 20-second pitch clock and all the other things that we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, I'd be more interested than, oh yeah, great, 16 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're chasing dollars right now. And
hey, who benefits more than JD Martinez from the National League?
Nobody. You're right. You're right, Timmy.
Yeah, I mean, that just doubled the market for JD Martinez.
He's been had a terrible season. All right, let's quickly end with the Bruins. I'm hearing that Don Sweeney's trying to figure out how to keep Torrey Krug, and that may mean a trade, and that may mean DeBrusk heads out the door. Would you be willing to give up DeBrusk to keep Krug?
That's Timmy.
That's a tough question. You know, I said no. I said no last night. I love Krug. You know, he's a specialty play. He's a power play guy. I mean, we have got outbigged the last two series that we've lost. Tampa Bay outbigged us, and the Blues outbigged us. So, I love his talent, but can we get a guy as talented who's bigger?
We need
to get tougher.
Wouldn't you rather go to McAvoy or Grzelcyk and say, we need you to step up and shepherd the power play and then figure it out otherwise?
I think McAvoy's quite capable of doing it. I think Grzelcyk's quite capable. But Krug has one great talent, lugging that puck up and getting it over the blue line and establishing the zone on the power play. I don't think there's anyone on the team as good at doing that as he is. So not that somebody can't step up and do it, but right now that's like his forte.
Yeah, he's great as the quarterback, and I would think the obvious guy to go to would be Grzelcyk, because McAvoy plays too many minutes as it is, and then you add responsibility. I think he'd be overwhelmed.
Yeah, and then before we go, it's Dallas, Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup. Will you feel better about yourself if Tampa wins? Knowing that,
Yeah, you lost to the champ. Yeah.
I can't see them losing, really. That's an extremely talented, big, strong team. I mean, I don't see them losing.
Look, they had the best record in the NHL last year, and just bizarrely lost a sweep
to Columbus
last year. But look, like the Kansas City Chiefs, it really is their time, and they probably should be having 2 Stanley Cups in a row. Yeah, Tampa Bay should rightfully win the Stanley Cup, I think.
Agree.
That's a wagon. They have a wagon.
Yeah. All right, boys, that's our show. Right. I want to thank, of course, the fellas. I want to thank everyone behind the scenes, of course, Corbin. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanderslive.com. And we'll be tomorrow night. I'll be with Uncle Joe. We'll be at the Coolidge Corner Clubhouse, right, live at 6 to 7 o'clock, doing a Grandstanders Live. So we'll talk about the Celtics, Joe. It should be fun. So come on in and check us out. And, of course, that's our show for tonight. My name is Scott Kerman. I'm your host. Have a great and happy night.